Let's look at how elasticity affects your pricing strategy and how that's going to affect your total revenue. So now that you know how elasticity works, what should you do as a business? Should you just raise your price, make more money? It's one idea. But what if you go too high? What's going to happen, right? Again, law of demand says higher prices, lower quantity. So basically, let's look at an example of how this could be different depending on the elasticity. If there was a band and they wanted to fill out a stadium, how should the band set the ticket price to generate the most revenue? Should they sell more tickets at a lower price or fewer tickets at a higher price? And really, the answer comes down to how elastic is this band? How many substitutes are there? What's the percent of the budget in that area? What's the time limit that's set up, right? Is this a last minute concert or is this going to be months away, right? Depending on the time, depending on the area it's in, and then also depending on the substitutes. Think about it. If it's a cover band, there's a lot more substitutes in terms of a cover band. So that band would be more elastic. So we might expect them to have a lower price, right? And I'll show you why. But if it's a one-of-a-kind band or an artist, right, to where it's only that person, they are highly inelastic, well, maybe we could see them charging a higher price, and that can actually make more money by doing that. And I'll show you. So when it comes to elasticity and pricing, all right, when a good is elastic, that's showing us that the percent change in quantity, right, big change, is more than the change in price. So what happens here is when we raise price and it's elastic, the quantity changes more, so therefore total revenue falls. Basically, think about this. If you increased your price by 5%, your quantity is going to change more. So it's going to go down by 8%. Think about it. You tried to make $5 extra, but you lost 8 in the process. So guess what? Your total revenue is going to be lower. And that's because it's elastic. Going back to the cover band, if a cover band tried to charge higher prices, they would actually lose revenue there. Okay? If a good is unit elastic, remember that's a PED equal to 1, then the percent change in quantity is the same as price. So a rise in price is exactly offset by the fall in quantity. 5 steps forward, 5 steps backwards. So revenue is unchanged. But if you are a one-of-a-kind band, right, then you are more inelastic. So what you could do is you could raise price to a certain point and actually raise your revenue. A rise in the price causes a smaller fall in quantity, okay? Because it's inelastic, we have a small change in quantity. All right, so quantity change is less than the change in price. So here, if you were to raise your price by 5%, your quantity would only fall 3%. You made $5, it cost you $3, so you made $2 profit here, right? So when you're inelastic and you raise price, your quantity is lower, but overall you are making more money. So here's a summary of what we just talked about. If you are elastic and you charge higher prices, your revenue falls. If you are elastic and you lower price, you actually raise your revenue. If you are inelastic, right here, and you raise prices, you raise revenue. But if you are inelastic and you lower prices, your revenue actually falls, which is interesting, right? If you're inelastic and you charge a lower price, you think you're going to have more quantity and make more money. No. Okay? So let me show you why this is the case. On a demand curve, because higher prices, more expensive, more of your budget, more elastic, this upper region here on the demand curve is elastic. And then you go unelastic, and then down here on the bottom portion where it's less of your budget, more inelastic, okay? This is going to change what's happening with revenue. over here, I've just taken the prices and the quantities and I've multiplied them to create total revenue. How much money are we making from selling the tickets? So as you can see here, it's going 0, 5, 8, 9, 8, 5, and 0. On this demand curve, we're seeing the revenue increase 5, 8, 9, 8, 5, and 0. So the total revenue goes up and down. Okay? Now, why is it going up? The higher the quantity, the lower the prices. Lower prices, higher quantity, and it's elastic. So what this means is, on the elastic side, if your quantity is going up and your revenue is going up, this means you are lowering your prices. If you are on the inelastic side and you were to lower prices, raise quantity, your revenue is actually decreasing. So what happens here, if you are in a cover band, you're elastic and you lower prices, you actually increase your revenue. If you start to go too low, right, all of a sudden you start to become inelastic to where now you start to lose revenue. What this means is that at the unit elastic point here, you are maximizing revenue. Okay. So I have some examples here that we can go through. A good is considered to be elastic, and firms raise prices. What happens to total revenue? So we are elastic, we're on this side, and they raise prices. So if we're on this side, prices are higher. What's happening with quantity? Law of demand says higher prices, lower quantity. So if we raise prices and we lower quantity, we're going this way. Look at what's happening with total revenue. If we're going from here down to here, like less quantity, you can see that we're going down the hill, right? See how we're going to the left and down the hill on the elastic side? That means if we were elastic, and we raise prices, our total revenue is actually going to be lower. Okay? If a good is considered to be inelastic and firms raise prices, what happens to revenue? Okay, so again, we raise prices, so that means quantity is lower. So if quantity is lower, we're going this way. Okay, less quantity to the left, and we're on the inelastic side here. So if we're going to the left, we're coming in here, and then we start to go up the hill. Less quantity, we're going up the hill. So therefore, if we are inelastic and we raise prices, our total revenue is actually going to be higher. Okay. Here's another one. Firms raise prices, and we also see total revenue increase. So is that elastic or inelastic? Let's take a look. If we have higher prices, quantity is going down. So that means we're going this way. Where are we going? To the left and also up on the hill. So let's take a look. We're going to the left, right? So where did we start going up the hill? We started going up the hill right here. That is on the inelastic side. So here, if firms raise prices and total revenue increase, it is considered to be inelastic. Okay? So that's what we're looking for in terms of price elasticity and total revenue. All right. Another quick summary for you, just so you have it, and you can screenshot this just so you have it. If we are elastic and we charge a higher price, our total revenue is lower. If we charge a lower price, our total revenue is higher. If we are inelastic and our prices are higher, total revenue will be higher. And if we charge at lower prices, our total revenue is actually lower. And finally, total revenue is maximized when we are unit elastic. That's the real summary there, okay? All right. And the next one, we'll talk about how tax incidence works, all right?